for a ledge. Well, a very good afternoon from the prow of Andrew Gannel Hill in the Ochils, 670 metres high, with the most astonishing edge of the world type vista looking out over what feels like the whole of the south of Scotland. Anyway, this isn't a full blog. People have probably got different opinions on the matter, but because we're completely locked down again with the stay-at-home message, I don't know, you're allowed out for exercise and the 5-mile rule still applies and getting outside your local authority, but it just doesn't quite feel in the spirit of it to be hanging around longer than I need to necessarily. Even though you sort of think it's perfectly safe, you know what you're doing, but even so, it doesn't feel in the spirit of it to be sort of faffing about and spending longer outdoors than I really need to get what is termed as exercise. So in the spirit of that, I haven't done a full blog. Anyway, for my exercise today, I've come back to the Ochils again, parked at Castlehill Reservoir, which is 4.5 miles from the border of Fife, and then walked up the glen as if you're walking through the Ochils to Dollar, but then heading off to the right up Innerdowney Hill, and then carrying along the top of that to over White Wisp, Tarmangy, and then here to Andrew Gannel Hill. It's actually a walk I did 6 days ago on the 2nd of January. I came out here without snowshoes. I didn't actually know how much snow there was out here. I usually trawl Instagram and Twitter the night before I go for a walk to sort of see if anyone's put photos up of, in this case, the Ochils or Benclue, which is over there. And it just didn't look like there was that much snow. But when you got up here, it was actually, should have brought the snowshoes, but had an amazing, amazing snowy day. It was really busy, but amazing day, and deliberately stayed out, came here, sat in this exact spot, sat here for about an hour, which I'm doing today, and then timed my exit, walking all the way back again the same direction, out back over the same hills that I came over, just so I could be out as the sun was setting. And I got an amazing sunset, because the sun of course sets out that way, and because all these hills face that way, they all go, they go turn yellow, they turn pink, and it's one of the best places I think in all of Scotland, really, certainly in central Scotland for sunsets, up here in the Ochils. So that was the plan, and it just got the most beautiful light. It was an amazing experience. It's just a joy. Everyone said to me, actually, because I put photos on Twitter afterwards, and people were saying, why don't you camp up there? But I really like walking out off a hill in the dark, in snow, in torchlight. That in itself is a joy. So it was just, I was up at the top of Innerdowney Hill, long after sunset, when you're getting that glow, and you're getting the yellow and the pink on the horizon, and then the snow going of just a beautiful colour, and the snowdrifts turning pink, beautiful hues. The most amazing hues you wouldn't even think were real. But that was unreal. And then spending about half an hour on top of Innerdowney, right at the end, having a cup of coffee in the complete darkness with just a thin orange line on the horizon, and then thinking, right, that's it, and going down, having a really nice snowy descent back down to the car, which took a couple of hours. And this being my day off this week, my days off Friday, Saturday, this being my day off, and then the snow we've had over the last couple of days, and the forecast for today was astonishing, and it was sort of, where shall I go? Where shall I go? And there's not many places you can go, really, and if you're sticking to the rules, I've been doing a lot of exploring of this part of the world and the Ochils and that, and there's not really many places left to get up high, I suppose. Big hills to find nice big routes where you're going to get big up high and get the snow. So I did think, for a start, I was thinking about going back to some of the hills I've done, like Innerdowney Hill, up Glencoy. Again, thought maybe them in the winter would be good, in snow, in winter conditions, but in the end, all this stuff was just too good to pass up, and seeing that we definitely had more snow, I couldn't really turn down the possibility of snowshoeing, because it might be, who knows, the only chance I get all winter if we stayed locked down for much too long. So that's what I plumped for. So yeah, I've basically just done exactly the same walk, exactly the same again, and the only difference being there's a bit more snow, and it's actually easier for walking because I've got the snowshoes on. It's just wonderful. I really don't mind doing it again via this route, because when you start off and you go up from Castlehill Reservoir up through the Woodland Trust area up onto Downey, where the Woodland Trust have been, sort of planting 20 years ago. Lots of broadleaf woodland in the 3 glens around here, around Glendevon. Something quite rare in Scotland is, a broadleaf tree line. You climb up through birch, oak, holly, juniper, a really nice woodland, a nice native woodland, which gradually peters out as you get closer to the top. So it actually feels, it feels more like climbing up a Norwegian hillside than it does somewhere in Scotland. So that was a joy last week in exactly the same conditions. Sunny in the morning, crunchy snow. It's really soft, powdery snow today. It's beautiful. And just climbing up through a broadleaf woodland, which isn't something you can do very often in Scotland, really. Woodlands tend to end in lines, and spruce plantations end with a fence in a straight line on at the edge of a hill, but this kind of peters out. Oh, it's beautiful. Really, really nice. And then it's just the most joyous, nothing majorly strenuous, but sort of just a undulating high plateau, I suppose, with a few bumps along the top, all the way here to Andrew Gannel. I wasn't going to do Ben Clew, which is that one over there, 721 metres. It's the highest point in the Ochils, because I could have got there and then come all the way back again, but it means I was probably on the move for the whole time, which I really, as you can see, you want to sort of make the most of it and just sit on this ledge out the wind in the sun, which isn't something that happens that often, isn't it? It's not always the way that, because the wind predominantly comes from the southwest in this country, and the sun's usually over in the southwest as well. It means that the windy side, the cold side, is often the sunny side, which means you can't get both. You get the sun, you want the sun on the top of a hill, but you get cold too in the wind. So when it's a northerly like this, you don't get the wind, but you get the sun. It's wonderful. It is such a tonic though, isn't it? It's especially with the amount of snow there's been up north, and you can see the hills from here. They're caked, and the Grampians, the Cairngorms, is just this thick white line on the horizon. They've had so much snow, and especially in the northwest, they've had loads. So it's this thing, isn't it? You can't get away. We can't get, all these restrictions. We can't get to the hills. But I don't know what I'd do if we hadn't had all this snow. If we hadn't had this cold spell, and it is, where I stay in the Lomond Hills, that we've had, this is 10th or 11th day, I think, where we've had not loads of snow on the ground, but we've had snow on the ground for 11 consecutive days, and that's not happened for years. And it has been cold, it's been sub-zero a lot. We had 7 air frosts in December, when the temperature gets down to 0 or below, and that's as many as I got in the whole of last winter in December, January and February. 7, and that was all in the space of about 9 days. It wasn't across the whole month, in the space of 9 days I had more air frost in the whole of last winter. So it has been nice. It's been cold, it's been frosty, it's been sunny, beautiful sunsets, beautiful sunrises. So it has felt seasonal. If it was mild and mushy, I don't know, if it was mild and mushy, you sort of think, well then there's no point in trying to get north to the hills because there's no snow. If it was a really mild winter, it makes it worse, the fact that it is cold, and it is a great winter. It's it's the first good winter in 3 years, and you can't get to the hills. But we do have this right on the doorstep. I'm just very, very thankful for this. I know not everyone has, snowy hills on their doorstep like this, but at the moment, most of us in Scotland do have snowy hills within reach. And this one, like I say, it's only 670 metres high, so these aren't big hills, really. They're big in relation to out here, that drops away like a cliff almost, down into the Forth Valley, almost to sea level pretty much. So you do have that feel of them being very, very big hills, but they're not massive, but they do get the snow, thankfully, in these setups. And so I've had 2 doses of wonderful snow in the space of a week, and that's going to keep me going for a while. We'll see what happens for the rest of the winter, but if we can't get to the big hills, then this will do nicely. Anyway, it's about 2:20, and this was the point at which last week when I was here, I started heading off actually, because by the time I get back to Tarmangy Hill, which is the next hill along, the sun was starting to go down. and by the time I got to Inner Downey, it was getting dark. So it worked out well. It timed quite nicely. So I feel like I'm just repeating the same walk. Part of me actually is trying to even recreate the experience, I suppose, of having the beautiful sunset at certain points. There were key points along the walk where certain snow was catching the light. The way the sun was setting, Tarmang is a really good hill for it because it lines up with the sun perfectly. So part of me is wary about trying to ever reproduce. You can walk the same hill many different times, but trying to sort of reproduce the same experience, I'm a bit wary of that, but I can't help myself trying to do it now because it is going to be a nice sunset and there's no cloud, and I think it's going to be a nice one. So I'm trying to reproduce it again. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I've been sat here almost an hour. My fingers and my toes are cold, so I should probably head off. Okay. Let's look at this light. I forget just how early this happens. I mean, sunset's not till about 5 to 4, I think, 4 o'clock almost. 10 to 4, not sure. But even at 2:30 now, it's really, everything's starting to get that sort of gold tint to it. Oh, it's lovely. It's definitely got a lot quieter as well. There were loads of people heading up Ben Clwch. That's the fence line. That's the law. The law. I thought the law. There it is. That's it, the law. And people come up all the way along the fence line. There was a procession of people when I sat down over an hour ago. It's emptying out. Isn't that lovely? I'm a bit wary about sticking my head up above this again after having been out the wind for so long. I forget how cold it is. This is probably the coldest day that we've had this winter, actually. I don't think it was going to get much above freezing, if at all, across much of Scotland today. Right. Just before we come into the wind again, that's Tarmangy, this one here, Tarmangy, that fence, that's when I've come over, and that's Inner Downey there. So what I did, I came up Inner Downey from down in the glen up the side, and I've come all the way along. Now I've got to go all the way back, which I don't mind. Look at it. We've got one more day of cold. It's going to be really cold tonight apparently, then it's going to be very cold tomorrow morning, and it's still going to be a chilly day tomorrow, but that's essentially it. They've got mild weather coming in. It's going to be raining in a couple of days' time. But it does look like it might stay chilly beyond next week. Everything's still up in the air. There's a chance, sort of the Met Office are being quite bold in their forecasts for 2 weeks from now, saying there's a chance of easterly winds from Scandinavia. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. But it has been really nice and really unusual to be able to come up here 6 days after I was last here, and everything looks, there's more snow if anything, but everything looks the same. And the snow hasn't blown around much. It feels like it's a proper, we're in the winter. And it feels like it. It's wonderful. Very nice. I don't know if you can get a sense of what's happening with the light, but it doesn't really come out on this camera. But it's going this amazing yellow colour in the distance, sort of certainly out that way, out across the Forth. Oh, it's really nice. It's about 5 to 3. So it's nice to be up on there by the time the sun's starting to go down. I was following someone's ski tracks most of the way here, beyond Tarmangy anyway, and just took the time, and it wasn't too strenuous. I don't usually do there and back again routes, going out and coming back exactly the same route. I don't really like doing that. But in these conditions, with the snow, it's actually quite nice coming back along my route, knowing that I've already broken trail, and it's actually going to be all right. So don't mind doing it in those circumstances. What a beautiful day. It's so weird though. This sort of proper winter weather when you're proper cold. I mean, I was really cold up there just then. And as soon as you come out into the sun, you get moving. I'm overheating now because I've got all my layers on. That's a new ski track since I came out this morning. Quite a few people have been out skiing actually. I've seen quite a few people with snowshoes. You just get a sense that the whole of this part of Scotland has been primed and ready to get out with proper winter gear and use proper winter conditions as soon as the chances came along. Getting a nice view across to the Forth Bridges, to all three of them, if you can make them out. Queensferry Crossing is one with the 3 struts, 3 towers. The old Forth Road Bridge in the middle, they're looking very small in comparison, and of course the Forth Bridge, the Forth Rail Bridge, getting redder by the minute this time of the evening. As the sun sets, just starts going aflame. And that's the Pentlands beyond, of course. This is the last proper bit of up. I always forget just how long it goes on for. The next 2 hills after this, White Wisp and Inner Downey, are very gentle inclines, more like bumps on a plateau. It's hard work. Another world. I can't believe it's just above the central belt down there. But anyway, here we are, just as the sun's about to do its business. It's 3:42, so it's probably about another 15 minutes until sunset. But the wind's dropped a lot. There's still a bit of a wind, but it's dropped a lot from what it was. So it's going to be really cold when that goes down. But what a beautiful, beautiful spot. All the way in the distance over there, tucked in there, is Arran. I don't know if you can see it. Very distinctive outline of Arran, the Isle of Arran. Right in the distance, 70 miles away. It's just so quiet. Last week, well, it wasn't even last week, 6 days ago. So it was the 2nd of January, so it was a holiday, and it was busy. And even though it was windier than now, but you could hear people in the distance. Happy people being happy, laughing, shouting, talking. There was still quite a lot of bustle. Even now, there's people passing over the top of here. There's been one guy's just gone over, but other than that, you can feel it's got that. I really like this feel this time of day when it just feels like the hills are just sort of emptying, and there's that slight sense of not apprehension, but just that the sun's going down and it's going to be dark in an hour, and just that little sense that this is somewhere you're not supposed to be really, and it always feels quite exciting for that. That's why I said earlier on, that's why I love the walk out with a torch. It's heaven, but it's really not. I mean, it's nice being up here for this. When I was up here last week, I spent a long time on this hill watching the sun go down, and then I always know it happens, but I kind of forget how impressive it is that glow you get afterwards, the afterglow of the sunset after it's gone down, and you start to get that pinkness on the horizon, that purple, pink, yellow sometimes hue, not towards the sun, but the opposite direction from the sun, so over that way, this way rather than that way. Depending on people use the term alpenglow, and I think I've always taken it to mean, and I think most people do, to mean, when the setting sun or the rising sun, it hits the snow and everything goes pink. But I know there is another use of that word that is to describe that sort of, is it refraction? I'm not sure, but it's the phenomenon where whatever's happening once the sun dips below the horizon on that side, that's when it sets that side of the sky aflame with this beautiful hues, and some people call that alpenglow. So that's the thing that I forget sometimes. As impressive as sunset is, often it's that hour afterwards when you get the lingering colours, and especially in winter it seems more pronounced. You get that really icy pink weirdness on the horizon. Really nice. So that's I'm hoping I'm going to get that this evening. It's getting hazy in the distance, but I mean, earlier you could see that on the horizon it is white the whole way along, all the way from East Lothian through the Lothians into Lanarkshire and the borders. Everything is white. There's been a lot of snow into the Pentlands especially. It's beautiful. Almost gone. You can see that running a bit better now. Now it's backlit. There it is. Very distinctive, eh? I haven't seen one of those for ages actually. It's quite unusual to see a plane these days flying overhead, eh? Anyway, it's pretty much the last of the light. It's pretty much gone. Ah, look at that on the horizon. Isn't it lovely? Great. We'll press on. There's a few kilometres to get to Downy. God, my fingers are cold. And actually, everything else is sharper on the horizon now. Looking over to what we got. It's Ben Ledy. Stobbin and Ben Moore. And then Stuchron and Ben Vorlich. Where's Ben Laws? Where are you? Yeah. There, bang in the middle. And like I say, just white on the horizon. That's the Cairngorms. All the way along. Look at that. And a glorious pink hue. Very happy. I'm up here later than I was last week, but it's not a huge distance. It's got to go up Whitewiss, which is this one here, sort of to the top, and then veering all the way over to Inner Downey, which is that one, which looks like quite a long way away, but it's actually quite easy walking. It doesn't take long. Very good. It's just bizarre, isn't it, the colours? I think I really do, certainly in winter, I think I really do prefer this period of the day after sunset. Just, it's not as attention grabbing as a sunset is. A big fireball in the sky. There's something, I don't know, just so surreally beautiful. I was along this wall when the sun was setting last week, and I took a picture of this fence line with these snowdrifts and put it on Twitter, and it went bonkers. Had like 30,000 likes or something. It just went nuts. And it made it clear to me that people like snow and people like sunsets, and put the two together and people love it. But somebody replied and said that he paints that sort of thing, and he lives down south, and he said if he painted it and showed his friends, none of them would believe me. They all think I'm making it up. They all think I've exaggerated these hues, these pastel colours. It is that thing where you have to see it to know it exists. You see it in a photo or someone's painting, or on this. Though to be fair, this camera's not giving it justice, not doing it justice. Unless you've actually been here up a mountain in the winter in the snow and seen it. Or it's not just up mountains, but it tends to be when the snow's down, eh? On cold nights, cold winter nights. You could be forgiven for thinking that someone's made it up, because it's amazing, isn't it? Mind you, all of it is around here. It's all happening, all the colours are happening. It's so still. Just half an hour ago it was pretty breezy. It's just died. Oh wow. Not the only one doing it, there's some people up on King's Seat. All the way up there. Don't blame them. You get a better view of the Forth Valley from up there. Incredible view from up there. This is pretty nice too though. And always, this is a part where, you know, there's still quite a substantial afterglow just now, but then it gets dark quick. Forget how quickly it happens this time of year. Twilight doesn't last long, does it? Well, this is White Wisp. And look at what's happening out here. Oh, camera's not doing it justice, I promise you. Nice view of home. The Lomond Hills, that's West Lomond there, East Lomond there, Bishop Hill there. We haven't caught as much snow in Fife, unfortunately. Not as much snow as out here. It's been milder out east, funnily enough. Normally you'd have east winds being quite cold and snowy with the air temperatures we've had, but it hasn't been that way. It's been warmer out east, and even Edinburgh's had more snow than we have, which is quite unusual. But anyway, they're looking the part, that's the main thing. Here we are back into the Woodland Trust enclosure, and you can see all those trees, all this stuff. This is all broadleaf, not exclusively broadleaf, but mostly broadleaf native woodland. Summit of Inner Downey. I'm just going to get out the wind a bit. That light right down there, that's a house at the dam, the reservoir, so it's quite a way down to go. It takes about half an hour to get down there, I think. I'm just going to have a coffee before I start the descent. Cheers! Of course, by this time of the evening it's going cold. The brightest thing on the horizon there looks like it's a big town. Isn't, not really. That's the Grangemouth oil refinery. All the way over there, the brightest thing on the horizon. Brighter than any of the cities. It's 5:15. So sunset was a little over an hour ago, and it's already a lot darker than it looks on the camera. It's pretty dark. I'm not really a big one for eating much. I don't eat enough, I don't think, really. I know I don't eat enough when I go out on walks. But I find I don't really have that much of an appetite. I just don't feel like eating a huge amount. I'll stop for coffee and cake, of course, at lunchtime. but other than that, and a few sandwiches. But I find it hard to sort of, everything gets cold and just hard to chew. Everything gets all a bit laborious, isn't it? But then when you get to the end of the day like this, it's actually quite nice to rest and just pile on whatever you've got left. Because it's that thing, isn't it, of you feel like you're almost finished, but really you still need to sort of pile on the energy to get you down safely, I suppose, and so you don't start tripping over yourself. Beautiful evening. Well, I know it wasn't a full vlog with big wide walking shots and all that sort of stuff, but oh yeah, I wanted to give a taste of this place anyway. It's been an amazing playground in the snow. So at least wanted to give a sense of just of the beautiful light up here and the kind of snow we've had. Actually, a bit of a taste of a proper winter for a change for the first time in 3 years. It's been really, really nice. I'm talking as if it's the end of it, as if that's the end of winter, but hopefully it won't be. Hopefully we'll have more like this. But tomorrow, chilly, day after, and the day after that, rain. So let's see what happens beyond that. Hopefully we'll get some more wintry weather. And hopefully by that time, actually we'll be free to do a bit more, but I don't know, it's all a bit dire, isn't it? It feels like everything's just gone down the toilet again. We'll see, but hopefully I'll get another snowy blog done. See you then.